to another Agile IT Tech Talk. I'm your host, Sean Spicer, and today we're going to be talking about Intune. This has been a recurrent request from clients and prospects that I have spoken to on the phone recently, and really want to get in and show what Intune is, because I think a lot of people have a incomplete view of this incredible tool. So nowadays, people are connected, and with COVID-19 and working from home, it's even more complicated with smartphones, tablets, laptops, desktops, watches. People have an incredible number of options for getting and staying connected at any time. And users expect to be able to access their email and documents from anywhere and on any device. And they expect that to be seamless. IT, on the other hand, we need to make sure that corporate data is secure while still enabling our users to stay productive in a mobile-first world where the threat landscape is increasingly complex and sophisticated. And we've done some talks in the past about zero trust architecture, and this really feeds into it. So Microsoft Intune is a cloud-based enterprise mobility management service that helps enable modern workers to be mobile and productive while still keeping our corporate data protected. Intune is the component of EMS, Enterprise Mobility and Security, that manages mobile devices and applications. It integrates closely with other EMS products like Azure Active Directory for identity and access control, and Azure Information Protection for data protection. So when you use it with Office 365, you can enable your workers to be productive on all of their devices while still keeping your organization's information protected. Conditional access provides the control and protection you need to keep that corporate data secure while giving your people an experience that allows them to do their best work from whatever device they want to use. With enterprise mobility and security, you can define policies that provide contextual controls at the user, location, device, and application level. You can also allow or block access or challenge users with multi-factor authentication, device enrollment, or password change. Plus, Microsoft's machine learning-based identity protection leverages billions of signals daily that we've talked about a lot before in our other tech talks, and can detect suspicious behavior and apply risk-based conditional access that protects your applications and critical company data in real time. So we're going to show all of that. So Intune allows for managing policies across security and operations. These policies are not necessarily managed by just one team or one individual, and so they require different levels of access to Intune, as well as some troubleshooting. So here we're in the Contoso demo environment, and we've used Intune's role-based access control, RBAC, to help manage who has access to the organization's resources and what they can do with those resources by assigning roles, to Intune users. Go ahead and look at all roles here. So Contoso admins created an operations auditor role and can limit what those assigned to this role can see and change. There we go. So each role can have a set of permissions that determines what users with that role can access and change within the organization. Permissions can be set for a variety of areas, including audit data, device configurations, endpoint protection reports, and manage apps. So after creating the operations auditor role, the Contoso admins assigned the role using scope groups and scope tags. Now let's look at assignments. And let's look at this assignment of ops auditor. So a role assignment defines which users are assigned to the role, what resources they can see, and what resources they can change. Now, admins and those assigned permission via Intune roles can use the troubleshooting portal to view user information to address user help requests. That's in troubleshoot. And let's select a user. Go ahead and select Isaiah. The troubleshoot pane also shows enrollment issues. Details about the issue and suggested remediation steps can help admins and help those with access troubleshoot problems. And here you can see where we've got assignments, the devices, and then app protection status, and you know what needs to be done within that device. So you can use Microsoft Edge for work and personal activities on iOS and Android devices, as well as on Windows. Edge supports all the same management scenarios as the Intune managed browser, with the additional functionality of a fully featured modern browser experience. So let's go ahead and configure an Intune policy for Microsoft Edge. We're going to start here by clicking on Client Apps. Now, using an app configuration policy, we can push down default settings, bookmarks, homepage, etc. to end users. This is really useful for onboarding. But right now, let's look at app configuration policies. And then we're going to go to Client Apps, App Configuration. We go ahead and we enter a friendly name. We're going to set what type of enrollment type we want. In this case, we want to do managed apps. And then we're going to select the associated app. And let's set up Edge for Android. And Edge for iOS, because we can set these across different programs. So if we want to set one policy across all of them, we can. So now we've selected those two. Now what we want to do is we want to do the configuration settings. And now the first setting we want to add is setting Edge to be the default protected browser. This requires the end user to install the Edge app when they access company protected web links. So we're going to go ahead and give this a name. So setting Edge as the default protected browser enables users to use Edge's dual identity support, which allows them to add both their work and personal account to Edge for browsing. This is nice if you've worked on a mobile device that is using mobile application management. A lot of times you really wind up segmenting things where there's an app you use for work and there's an app you use for your personal stuff. Edge is great because you can use it outside of that mobile application management layer as a personal browser. And then you can also use it viewing protected data, maybe on a company intranet, or just making sure that when people are clicking on links, it stays within that mobile application environment or MAM environment. So I really like this feature. There is complete separation between the two identities, which is similar to the architecture and experience in Office 365 and Outlook. Intune admins are able to set the desired policies for a protected browsing experience within the work account while still allowing that personal account to continue to have an unmanaged browsing experience. Go ahead and set the value. Next, what we'll do is we're going to add the setting to allow for the Azure Application Proxy integration. Now with Azure Application Proxy integration, we can control access to SaaS apps and web apps, helping ensure browser-based apps only run in the secure Microsoft Edge browser, whether end users connect from the corporate network or connect from the internet. Now we're going to add the settings to configure the homepage and favorites. Now, managing favorites and homepage shortcuts increases ease of access for end users by allowing admins to set certain URLs to appear under favorites when end users are in their corporate context. Admins can also set a homepage shortcut, which will show as the primary shortcut when the end user opens a new page or new tab in Microsoft Edge. If you've ever had to answer the same question 1,000 times about what the URL is for something, you definitely understand why this is useful. Now we're going to go ahead and set the value for that as well. So we can also set the homepage shortcut, which will show as the primary shortcut when the end user opens a new page or new tab. And now this is managed browser bookmarks. And then we're going to go ahead and add the policy. Now that we have the client app configuration policy in place, we can also add app protection policies to Microsoft Edge Mobile. So we're going to go to Manage and App Protection Policies. Now, Intune app protection policies allow protection of your sensitive data from accidental leakage or improper sharing. This is done by disallowing users to cut, copy, and paste or save data originating from company apps to personal apps. So let's go ahead and set this up for iOS and see what that looks like. We're going to go ahead and look at the assignments. And you can see that we've already selected SG Sales and Marketing, and that is assigned. Now we want to look at what the targeted apps are. And so through the settings, the policy can be tailored to target certain apps, users, or all users within the organization. Now let's go ahead and set this for Edge for iOS and go ahead and save. Then we can look at properties and see what it does. So the policy offers the advanced data protection settings like data encryption and even the ability to do things like block printing of corporate data. So let's look at data protection. And you can see here, we've got data transfer and encryption settings. Let's look at access requirements. So you can see that you can set a demand for PIN, whether it's a simple PIN is allowed or not, minimum PIN length, Touch ID. We use that here at Agile IT. We make sure that all of our users have, or all of our employees have phones with biometrics, which I can use a PIN if need be. Sometimes if my thumb's wet, it'll not work. But you can demand that Touch ID is the only way to access it. And yeah, you can have demand that people reset their PINs. This kind of falls into like password resets for me. I don't know that this is really the best policy to enable. And yeah, so you can see all the different levels of control that you have here on this application level. So let's look at conditional launch and then device conditions. And here you can see that you can block out jailbroken or rooted devices. And a lot of times this is important because people don't always know that they have a jailbroken or rooted device. They may have downloaded some sort of third-party application, even something that came out of the app stores that just didn't get cleared in time, that has allowed a device to be compromised. This checks the device's health to make sure that the device is safe for that data to be pulled onto. This also means that a bad actor can't get access to the environment with a rooted device and circumvent the controls that are set. So let's look at client apps and app protection policies. So Intune app protection configuration policies for Microsoft Edge protect your organization's data, like we said. And the Intune protected Edge Mobile ensures that your company resources are protected not only within natively installed apps, but also when these apps are accessed through the web browser. So let's look at requiring device enrollment for cloud applications. So one of the main capabilities employees want on their mobile device is to access their corporate email and documents. And they expect to do it in a fast and easy way without the need of going through multiple complex steps or calling the help desk. IT, on the other hand, wants to keep the corporate data safe and secure wherever it is. So how difficult is this to configure for the IT admin? Typically, this is a challenging project that often requires email gateways, server in the perimeter network, lots of configuration and custom scripts. Let's see what it looks like here. So let's look at device compliance. And due to Microsoft's cloud architecture, we've reduced the complexity and made it really easy to configure. There are only two things IT needs to do to enable conditional access. We're going to go to Manage and Policies. And first, we define a compliance policy in the Intune admin console, which verifies if the device is compliant with what we've defined as device compliance requirements for the organization. So let's look at this Contoso MDM compliance policy for iOS. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the management properties. We're going to go ahead and look at settings. And as you can see, there are multiple settings that can be set for devices running Windows, Windows Phone, iOS, and Android. Let's go ahead and look at email. Excuse me. And here you can see the settings there. So require mobile devices to have managed email profile, required or not configured. We can look at device health and look and see if we're going to permit people to use jailbroken devices. Here it is blocked. Now we're going to look at the OS settings. This is where we can set minimum OS versions. As you know, there can still be Android 1.0 out there on some devices, although I don't think they'd run Outlook very well. And then we can look at system security settings. So we can see if the device requires a password to unlock, whether simple passwords are allowed, minimum and maximum password lengths, or required password length. And then we're going to go ahead and enable the conditional access policy. So in this example, it's being applied to Exchange Online. And we're going to go ahead and click here on Exchange Online requires compliant device. The appropriate restrictions and targeted groups are configured. Now employees in these groups need to have their devices enrolled and healthy to access the email. Note that you can also separately block access from mobile client applications and via the browser. So let's look at Cloud Apps or Actions, and we can protect access to Exchange Online email from Outlook and other apps that use modern authentication. And this is one of those controls that is suggested in Secure Score. If you've watched our Secure Score Tech Talks, you remember us going through setting this up in there. This is another place to do it, but this is nice because it gives you that consolidated control for all of your endpoints. So let's go ahead and set this to grant. And here you see require device to be marked as compliant. Let's look at who it is assigned to. And you can see here, it's the SG Sales and Marketing Group. And then let's turn it on. So I love that it gives you these little warnings because it talks about potential impacts. So you can go ahead and save with this policy turned off, but let's go ahead and look at what it looks like for the end user. So when employees add their corporate Office 365 account in the Outlook app, they expect to get access to all their email, but with EMS, you can enable conditional access, which ensures that employees access corporate email only from those managed and compliant devices. So we're going to go ahead and open Outlook. We're going to add an account. We've got our demo guy here, Isaiah. Enter that password and sign in. And as you can see here, they're blocked and they're informed that to get access, they first need to enroll their device to Intune. So enrollment is performed via the Intune company portal app. And this app is already installed on this device so that you can user can launch straight into the enrollment process. But you can get this application as well through the Apple App Store as well as Google Play. So employees need to log in with their corporate Azure AD identity and go through the standard iOS enrollment process. This includes applying a management profile and certificates for secure communication between the device and Intune. So let's go ahead and begin. And here you can see, Contoso can never see your call and web history, email and text messages, contacts, passwords, and photos. May see your model and serial number, operating systems, app names, owner and device name, phone number for corporate devices, device location for lost corporate devices. And that's one of those things about MDM and MAM, is MDM, mobile device management, allows you to take control of the entire device, while mobile application management allows your employees to bring their own devices. And that's what I prefer. I've got that grandfathered unlimited data plan from AT&T that you can pry from my cold dead hands. And I'm not going to move to a company managed device. And if I have to, then I'm going to carry 2 phones. So let's go ahead and allow, then go ahead and continue. So right now it's trying to download a configuration profile, that one we set up earlier. Profile is downloaded. Open this page in Comp Portal. Now we're going to need to install the management profile. We just go ahead It is set, and we go ahead, click home. Let's go to settings, profile, management profile, and here's where you can see it on your device. So you can see the iOS profile signing manage.microsoft.com. So there are a few things happening behind the scenes here. First, Intune gets device information without collecting personal data, since this is a BYOD, a personal device. Next, Intune also registers this device with Azure AD. So now both Intune and Azure AD know that this device belongs to this employee. Now that's useful in scenarios where the employees want to access corporate data from their own devices, but Intune also starts to deploy and enforce device settings like password requirements, resource access profiles such as Wi-Fi and VPN, and certificates and applications. So let's go ahead and install this. Gonna have to put in our PIN, install the profile. Yes, we trust it. And yes, we are done. And we're gonna go ahead and go back to the home screen, go to that comp portal, and allow, and continue. It's going to go ahead and start to install the applications. In this case, PowerPoint. And we're done. And you can see there that we've got that within our portal now. Let's go ahead and look at Outlook. Here, we're going to go ahead and add an account. Your organization is now protecting the data in this app. You need to restart the app to continue. Click OK. Open up Outlook. Aha, and there's that policy. So now to access your organization's data with this app, you can set a PIN. Like I said, I really prefer the biometrics because it's just my thumbprint, but if my thumb's wet or something like that, we can go ahead and use a PIN as backup. We're going to go ahead and enter that real quick, hit OK. Restart now that we're in. And once the enrollment is completed, employees need to ensure that their device is compliant with these corporate policies. And it's usually a lot simpler than what we've shown here, but it is important to see what is happening under the hood so we get a fuller understanding of it. So this is a great solution because employees get access to email with just a couple simple steps. And we're happy because the corporate data is accessed only from managed devices, and we can make sure that things aren't slipping around. And let's see what that looks like. So we can also block access from untrusted locations. So today, we work from so many different locations outside of a corporate network. So the perimeter's gone. We can work from home. We can work from our customer sites, coffee shops, oil derricks. Some of the places I've heard of our clients' users working from are outstanding. So in this case, we're going to look at a third-party SaaS application that Contoso uses called Expensify that tracks travel and expense reporting for their mobile workforce. We want to make sure that there is additional security when accessing this app because it does contain financial data. So let's look at applying a conditional access policy to Expensify. Now, this is not a Microsoft piece of software, but you can still create conditional access policies for accessing it. So let's see what that looks like. So this application is already configured in Azure Active Directory for single sign-on. Now let's add a new conditional access policy to the application. So we're going to go to named locations here under manage. And first we need to create a group of trusted IPs to be used for the conditional access policy. So we're going to go ahead and configure. And here we can specify our corporate network ranges. They're added using CIDR notation. So here we've got our IP address ranges. We're going to save it and close. It's successful. And then let's get out of here. And now let's look at conditional access. We're going to go ahead and create a new policy. And so the policy can be set to apply to specific users or groups. So you can have fine-grained control over which users are subject to which conditions and controls. So here's the example, device compliance app policy. We'll go ahead and give it a name, Expensify location policy. We're going to go ahead and apply this to the sales and marketing group. There we are. Select, and they are now added into the controlled groups. Mark it is done, back our way off these blades. So To set a location-based policy, we need to add a location condition. So let's look at conditions. And we want this policy to trigger for every location except those that we specify as trusted. To achieve this, we add any location to be included in the policy and then add the listed trusted IP ranges to exclude. These are the networks that we trust and control. Go ahead and select yes. Then we're going to go ahead and set our exclusion. So selecting all trusted locations will include that list of trusted IPs that we've added earlier. Now we're going to go ahead and done. And then let's look at assignments. And we're going to go ahead and select that application. Let's find Expensify and select. Now that's been added, done. Now these appropriate conditions to trigger the policy have been configured. We need to select the controls that the policy will apply. So we want to go ahead and grant access. And in this example, we're going to set it to block access. Hit select. We're going to enable the policy and create. And there it is. Now let's look at what an end user would see. So logging into the My Apps portal as a member of that sales and marketing group, we can see the Expensify application here as one of the available applications. We're going to go ahead and click Expensify. Now, if we try to launch the application now, as we're coming in from a different network than those listed in the trusted IP list, access to the application is blocked. So let's switch back to the admin view so we can give the end user access. So if this network is a trusted location, we can add the current IP address range to that trusted IP list. So let's go to named locations, and we're going to configure MFA trusted IPs for that location-based policy, and we can add the specific IP address to the list of trusted IPs. So now that the trusted IP is added, our end user can log into the app. So let's look. So here we are. Now, when the end user accesses Expensify, it recognizes their IP address as one within one of the trusted IP addresses and allows them to access the application with single sign-on. So using location-based conditional access policies can enable protection of corporate data by restricting where the data can be accessed from. It could be that this is highly sensitive information that should only be accessed when on the corporate premises, such as medical data, which should only be accessed when the medical staff are on hospital grounds. Another example could be requiring MFA when an employee is accessing corporate data from home or an internet hotspot, but allowing them access without MFA if they're on the corporate network or connected via VPN. So Azure Active Directory conditional access for SaaS apps and Azure AD connected apps let you configure conditional access based on group location application sensitivity. But with conditional access based on application sensitivity, you can also set multi-factor authentication access rules per application. MFA per application provides the ability to block access for users who are not on a trusted network. So you can apply MFA rules to all users that are assigned to the application, or only for users within specified security groups. Users may be excluded from the MFA requirement if they are accessing the application from an IP address that is trusted. So let's see what that looks like. So we're going to walk through configuring Azure Active Directory conditional access to require that MFA for applications. So let's go to conditional access. So a new conditional access policy will need to be created to which we can assign users and groups, the applications, any additional conditions, and the controls to be applied. In this case, MFA and blocking access. So let's create a new policy. We're going to go ahead, give it a friendly name. And then we're going to go ahead and specify the group of users. Select users and groups. Select. And guess who? Sales and marketing again. We're going to go ahead and select them. We're going to click done. And now we want to go ahead and specify the applications to which this policy is to be applied. So we're going to go ahead and look at cloud apps or actions. And so this enables us to configure a single policy and apply it to all apps of a similar risk profile. In this instance, the policy we're configuring is for HBI apps. So you would add all of the apps with high business impact to this policy. So let's go ahead and select some applications. So we've got our expense manager here. We're going to go ahead and select it and select done. Now we need to configure the control that this policy is going to apply. So let's look at grant. In this example, we'll only require multi-factor authentication. And we'll go ahead and select it. We're going to enable the policy and create it. So now let's see what this end user's experience looks like. So end users access their enterprise applications published in Azure, again, through the My Apps portal. Here you can see the Woodgrove application that we applied the policy to. We're going to click on it. When we click on the application, it's going to require multi-factor authentication for access. As this is the first prompt for MFA, we can walk through the setup experience now. So we go ahead and click next. We're going to go ahead and add our authentication phone. We can also do it through the Authenticator app, which is a little bit more secure. I don't want to get into SIM jacking right now, but that is a real concern. We're going to go ahead and use a verification code. We're going to get set up. So we can go ahead and scan this QR code with the Authenticator app, which will automatically get that configured for us. But in this case, we'll click next. And we're going to go ahead and say use the code. Now we're going to get a text on our mobile device. And now that we have the app set up, we can use it to supply the verification code. Going to go ahead and verify. Select country and region in case we lose access to the mobile app. In the phone. And now it allows us to do the application. So this is part one of Intune. This is really about showing what the management console looks like, what capabilities are there, and really how to set everything up. Next week, what I want to do is I want to go through actual endpoint management a little bit deeper. So it will be a little bit of a longer presentation next weekend, but we're going to get more into the endpoint management. If I have time, I will also try to show what Autopilot and White Glove look like. These are incredible tools. You've probably heard us talk about the ability for a user who drops their laptop in a pool or gets it stolen, for the ability to, one, wipe that old device, and two, for a user to just go to Best Buy or Amazon and buy a new laptop, sign in with their connected credentials to Azure AD, and have it automatically configure that device. And that's what we're going to get into next week. So thank you very much for watching. If you're watching online on YouTube or reading on the blog, go ahead and leave questions and comments down below. Give us a like and follow. As a reminder, Agile IT Tech Talks are a benefit for our MSP and CSP clients. These sessions are followed by an interactive Q&A that's protected by NDA. As many acronyms as I can throw at you right now. So anyways, for those of you watching online, thanks for watching and have a great